And so they got together, and you know what they eventually did? They formed political associations. They could give them lots of different names. They eventually gave them the name of a political party. And they said to the king, we'll pay you taxes, but you have to set up a place where we get to talk about what we want to be done with the taxes. And the place where we want to talk is called a place where, to use the French word, parler, where we speak, is called a parliament, where you go to speak. And who speaks? The capitalists to the king. We want our share of what goes on. The king needed the taxes in order to run the big system that he was the king of. So he had to kind of meet them halfway, although he wasn't happy about it. And we begin to get the capitalists with their own political party fighting against the king and the lord and struggling over power, because it turned out these two systems didn't live together real well. The lords and serfs, particularly the lords, were very suspicious of the capitalists and vice versa, and for good reason. This kind of tension builds up across the later part of feudalism until the capitalists are strong enough in the cities where they are based, have enough serfs that they begin to demand that the policies of the king be tilted less towards feudalism, more towards capitalism. But that threatens the feudals, because they need that king to protect them, and they don't want to support a capitalism which is that draw that pulls people off the countryside who are serfs, because difficult as it is, their chances are better in that newer system developing in the towns. We know where this story ends. It ends in the French Revolution, when the new emerging merchants, employers in the cities with their employees realize that the future is theirs and that they need to end this struggle by ending the feudalism, and they make revolutions to do so. And that's how capitalism is born. It's born first within the shell of an old feudalism, coming out of the contradictions of that feudalism, making those contradictions, not intentionally, but by their very growth, more acute, struggling now for their own political organizations, to have their own political force and power on the feudal kings, forcing slowly, with much conflict, compromises and concessions from that king until they're strong enough to push feudalism aside historically and bring the world into the newer arrangement of capitalism, replacing lord and serf system with employer-employee system, replacing a system mostly agricultural with one that's mostly industrial, replacing a feudalism that's mostly rural with a capitalism that's mostly urban. Why am I telling you this story? Because inside capitalism, the same thing is now happening, a parallel story. What's happening are worker co-ops in Spain, in France, in Germany, but now in the United States and everywhere. Workers are saying we don't want to live in the way capitalism assigns us. It's too unequal. It's too unstable with its every 4 to 7 year downturns. It's not a bearable system. We are looking for alternatives and finding them in starting up our own collective businesses. In the second half of today's show, I'm going to talk about what strategy that implies for going forward.